Hi, welcome to From Broken and Blessed. I'm your host, Daisy Rogers, and today it's just me. This is actually a super exciting episode for me. It is our anniversary. 1 year. We hit 1 year on the 25th, this Saturday. 1 year of Broken to Blessed, and that's so bizarre to me. So bizarre. I don't know how we've been doing this for a year. Actually, hold on. I got some stats. Let me pull them out. So, in this 1 year, we have hit over 14,000 streams, and we've released, this will be our 27th episode. So that's like kind of awesome. I mean, maybe not awesome to a lot of other people, but for me, that's awesome. I did take a lot of time off. Whatever. Sorry. I do this where I like hype myself up, but then the other side of my brain's like, stop talking. You're not that cool. So here we go. This is me trying to like hype myself up. Really awesome. It really has been a great year. Like 27 episodes, over 14,000 streams. That's a lot. That's a lot. And sometimes I like get down on myself, but I'm like 14,000. Like if I saw that all like listed out, or like if I saw 14,000 items, like that's a ton. That's really cool. Right now I think I'm extra nervous because I'm sitting alone in the studio, and I haven't done a solo in the studio like this before. But I'm in a studio. What? Like, I started this podcast on borrowed equipment. I bought mics. I told my husband, I said, hey, I really want to do this. I feel really drawn to start this podcast. And I'm like, I know we don't have the money. I know that, like, that's a lot to ask. What do you think? And he just was like, yeah, go for it. Like, my husband has been so supportive of my dreams, literally always. He tells me all the time, like, I'm just working so that you can live your dreams. Like, I'm so blessed. I have the most amazing, supportive husband in the world. Like, he just supports me. And he's a commission-based job, so he knows, oh, I got to sell one more deal so that we can pay for this. Or, I don't know. It's never been a question for him that this is something I want to do. And he believes in me, and he believes in the message and the mission of this podcast. And so we're going to make it happen. So I took a couple $100, went on Amazon, and I bought some mics, a little device thing to edit all of the sounds and stuff. I don't know. Watched so many videos. I had no idea what I was doing. Anyways, my entire first season was filmed in my living room. I had no idea how to edit. I had no idea how to work like computers or mics or anything. Like if you go back and listen, the quality's pretty trash, pretty dookie, pretty bad from the first season. But I was learning, I was figuring it out, but I still had like amazing stories and amazing people come on the podcast. And that's just what's like taken off. It's been so awesome. So I'm really grateful to all those people who believed in me at the beginning when it was just, hey, come over. I have a janky little table and 2 microphones and a borrowed camera. Hopefully this turns out okay. And here we are. Being honest though, like a podcast is really hard, especially one financially. You think about it. I have put thousands of dollars into this podcast. Thousands on equipment, on studio rentals, on editing fees, on flying to interview people, on like just everything. And then time, like it takes time away from my kids. That is the huge reason why I switched to a studio though, because when I was doing it all by myself, I would edit. Each podcast was about an hour long, right? And I'm trying to learn all this stuff. I remember ChatGPTing like, hey, how do I edit this on my computer? How do I do this? Like literally everything. It would take me like 6 hours to edit an episode, to like combine the audio with the footage and to like figure all of that out. I had never done anything like that. So actually being in a studio is so much easier for me. But it used to take up so much time and so much energy, and now it just takes up money, but that's okay. I believe in this podcast, and I believe in what my goal is, and the Lord's just pushed me in this direction. So hopefully I can keep helping other people share their story, and it can keep motivating other people, you know? There is a lot of hard that comes with the podcast on top of finances. It's just kind of, Josie Van Dyke just posted something like, if you're in a podcast for the money, you're never going to make it, which is so true because I've been at this for a year. I've spent so much money, have not made a dime. But I believe in it, so I'm going to keep doing it. But that's hard when other people don't believe in it. You know, when you're like, oh, I'm creating content, I'm creating podcasts for an audience. Like, that's what I'm doing. That's the point of it, right? Like, yes, I'm doing it for me. Yes, I believe in the message. And yes, this is like an outlet for me. And this is kind of building who I want to be. So I'm really grateful for that. But ultimately, the content is for other people. You know, it's to motivate and inspire other people and to bring others closer to Christ. So like last night, I was kind of having a hard time. I was crying with my husband, just like, I wrote a blog today and one person read it. I made an Instagram post today and 2 people liked it. Like, that sucks. Why am I doing this? And there's some crazy statistic of like startup podcasts that make it. It's like so slim that your podcast makes it. Like, you just have to keep doing it. And I'm like, I have even on the days I want to quit, you know, like the people in my life who you think would support me the most have never even listened to it and like hate that I do it. Like, I actually have a lot of haters from the people that you think would support me the most. And that's really hard, but I honestly don't remember what I was saying. This is why it's so hard to talk by myself. My ADHD brain, I have no clue what I was about to say. Anyways, it's hard. It's hard when people don't support me. So I have to just I have every reason to succeed. I have a husband that supports me. I have friends that support me. There's no reason to quit other than my feelings. Other than I get a little sad and I get my feelings hurt sometimes that people don't like what I'm saying, or that not every single episode people repost it and are like, this changed my testimony. Because I have gotten texts like that. I have gotten numerous texts or DMs that are like, this one girl, she messaged me and I don't know what she was going through, but she's like, I was ready to be done. And I was sitting in a parking lot and I stumbled across your podcast and I sat in that parking lot and listened to every single episode. And it changed my life. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, what? You know, or things like that. Like, I know that this has helped a lot of people. And I just got to keep doing it. I don't know what my end goal is. I would love to be a public speaker. That's kind of my dream. I have had some really cool things happen since I started the podcast. One, I had a baby. Heck yeah. Pushed out a whole kid. Had a baby. So I'm doing all of this while with 3 kids. 3 and under. My husband was gone for a couple months during the summer. Like, I don't know. It was just a lot. It's just a lot. But amazing things that have come from this podcast. One, I've made so many friends. I've had so many amazing people on this podcast just sharing their story that have uplifted me. And it's a way to constantly feel the Spirit and feel God's presence. Like, all the time. Every time I come in here to do an interview, I'm like, I'm going to be spiritually fed. My cup is going to be spiritually filled today. Like, I'm going to listen to someone who has an amazing story. And I'm so excited about that. It's been great. I got the biggest brand deal of my life. I'm getting paid for a really big brand deal that wouldn't have happened if I didn't continue to put myself out there. And I am so excited for that. So blessed for that. And it's with, I don't know if it's a brand or a company. I don't know how you'd say that. Basically, the organization, here's your little Easter egg. The organization for which I do all of this, you know, why I do everything, what I believe in. And they wanted to partner with me. And I remember sitting in the meeting and I was like, hey, you got a lot more creators that are more like clean cut, probably more well-versed on what to say, or who are more educated or can edit better or have like a cleaner lifestyle. Like, I don't know if I'm your girl. I honestly said that, like, I don't know. I feel really inadequate. I don't know if I'm your girl. And they're like, no, we want you. And oh, that was like, what? And that wouldn't have happened without the support of my podcast. So if you're here, thank you so much. I really am so grateful. This is so funny, but my best friend's mom, her name's Kylie. Shout out to Kylie. She is my number one supporter. It is so funny. Like, my friend will send me screenshots of like their family group chat, and at the top you can see that she's like listening to my podcast, or she'll send clips of it in her family group chat. I don't know. She's the best. So Kylie's the best. She's the number one support. She's the reason I do all of this. No, not really, but it is pretty awesome. It's really funny. I'm so grateful for that and her support. She truly has like carried me a lot. Another opportunity that I had because the podcast was 2 weeks ago. I went to 3 weeks ago, a couple weeks ago. I went to an event. I got invited to be part of this LDS creator event, and I was stoked. So freaking stoked. Like, oh my gosh. Someone thinks I'm an LDS content creator. Oh my word. I've never been invited to anything. I'm going to go. Bought tickets. Flew to Utah. Did this event. I bought merch to sell at this event. Okay. I was like going all out. And I get there, and honestly, it was like probably just a bad week. It was spring break. Everyone was gone. A lot of the vendors like didn't show up, whatever. I felt really inadequate. I was the only one from out of state. And I don't know. I just felt like I'm just here. No one knows who I am, but I'm just here. Buy my sweatshirts, please. And so I was kind of like being a little bit discouraged of like, oh, dang it. Like, this isn't what I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to network a lot and meet a lot of big people that I wanted on my podcast and whatever. I did meet some amazing people. I did meet a lot of amazing people. But I think what was the most important that came from that whole experience was someone came up to me, you know, after looking at my merch and was like, what's your podcast? And I tell them, oh, it's From Broken to Blessed. I interview everyday people on their struggles and basically how they've made it on the other side, how they've come to know their Savior through their trial or whatever. And she goes, huh, interesting. Why did you start that? And I was like, oh, great question. And I don't think I'd ever been asked that before. You know, really, my husband was the only person who knew that I was going to start it. And he's, again, all around supportive. But I don't think anyone has ever asked me that. Why are you doing it? Great question. I don't know. And so I kind of wanted to, I'm already getting freaking sweaty. So I'm going to tell you my story a little bit. This is just a snippet of my story and how the podcast came to be. This is really uncomfortable for me. I'd much rather be interviewing someone, but it doesn't feel right to expect my guests to come on and to be vulnerable and to share their story if I'm not willing to share mine. And I know that I'm not meaning to offend anybody and that I probably accidentally will or something. I don't know. Everyone's always mad about something. So whatever. So here's the story of From Broken to Blessed. A lot of you know, I was raised my whole life in split households. My dad lives in Show Low, and my parents split up a little bit before my first birthday. This isn't what this is about, by the way. I'm just giving you a little context. You know, my dad lives in Show Low, whatever. I drove up to see him once I started kindergarten or first grade. I started driving up to see him every other weekend. So my dad has like fought tooth and nail for his time, and I didn't appreciate it as a kid. I do really appreciate it now. Every other weekend I was going up to Show Low, and that was so annoying. I missed out on so many things, but I am so glad that my dad put in the effort to make sure that I knew him and that I knew my siblings and that I had a home in the mountains. You know, I'm really grateful for that. And I've met some of my favorite people from being up there and stuff like that. So that was always kind of my life. My mom married my first stepdad when I was 3, and they were together from 3 to 6. And then she married my second stepdad. I think I was 7. My second stepdad when I was 7. I was in first grade. Is that 7? Yeah, I was 6 turning 7. Yep. Yep, so she married my second stepdad when I was 6 turning 7, right the summer before first grade started. So my dad and my stepmom live in Show Low. They've always been a very active part of my life. I was up there every other weekend. You know, I spent my breaks there all the time. They are not who I'm talking about. I want to make that abundantly clear. Okay, that my birth father and my stepmom are not who I'm talking about in this situation. Okay, perfect. Don't need any confusion there. Both my mom's names is Jessica, so my stepmom and my mom, so it gets like really confusing. Anyways, stepmom, dad, birth dad are not who we're talking about. Cool? Everyone's on that same page? Wonderful. Let us proceed. So I grew up, you know, in Queen Creek, Arizona, the house that I lived in. The house that I lived in most of the time. I went to my dad's every other weekend, but the house that I lived in most of the time was my mom and this stepdad. Okay. And we had a mess of a family in the best, most wonderful way. My mom had me. Then with my first stepdad, she had Brody and Lily. And then my stepdad came into the marriage with my 2 other sisters, Tatum and Peyton. And then together they had Daxton and Posey. So it was a very yours, mine, and ours situation. And it was just, it was our life. I understand that for other people it might have been really confusing that like you have so many kids and there's like 3 different last names and there are some weekends where no one's here and, you know, things like that. Like it's just, it was part of our reality that we didn't think was weird, that wasn't typical, especially like in your typical Mormon culture. You know, like it was kind of weird. And like every other Sunday, all of the kids were gone. Or every other every other Sunday, we were all there. And so it was just, you know, confusing. Not for us, but I guess for other people, if they were confused, whatever. Anyways, I grew up very much with this mentality of blood doesn't make a family, because I have no full blood siblings. All of my siblings are either half or step. But my number one identity has always been a big sister. I'm the oldest of 12, you know. I would do anything for my siblings, any of them. I would do anything, be anywhere. I would go to war for them. I would do anything for my siblings. So that was always a huge part of my identity and who I was as a person. You know, I was the bossy older sister, but that I'm the one you call. I don't know. Okay, so that's just how I grew up. And when I was going to my dad's every other weekend, it's a 3-hour drive. 3-hour drive there, 3-hour drive back. So to do that, my stepdad, he drove me there. He drove me to Globe, not there. He drove me halfway. We met in Globe. He drove me halfway. Friday, he drove me there. Sunday, picked me up, brought me home. Me and my ex-stepdad were very, very close. My whole life, we were very close. I understand. He's not my father. He's not my dad. But he was the father figure in the home that I resided in most of the time. And we were super close. We had a lot of conversations. We had a lot of, anytime me and my mom, we just don't think the same way. He was always like the mediator, or just kind of helped me feel heard. I don't know, all these things. He very much, I counted myself so lucky to have 2 dads. And that's how I lived my life. That's how I lived my life. I graduated high school. I went on my mission, came home from my mission, got married. And then it all blew up. It all blew up, quite honestly. So it was October of 2022. I had my first daughter. It was just me, Zach, and Nellie. And I remember the day. I think it was October 22nd. But I remember the day specifically because that morning I had been at Time Out for Women, an amazing conference where I learned about Christ, and I was so spiritually uplifted. Later that night, my brother-in-law went through the temple. So I was in the temple. I had just been my cup was so spiritually filled that day. And I was like, this is a great, great day. And I was at my friend's house. We were just hanging out, It was late. I think it was like 7 or 8. And my sister, Lily, texted me. She's technically the fourth out of this big jumble family, but she's the sister under me of my mom's kids. Me and Lily were we were super, super close. We weren't close growing up. Don't get me wrong. We were not close growing up. But right before my mission and after my mission, we were really close. She is one of my favorite people. I hope that she knows that I would die for her. Anyways, she texted me and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you. Are you home?" And I turned to Zach and I said, she's either high or pregnant. I don't know. I just felt it. Something's wrong. Something is so, so wrong. So I was like, we're not home. I'll be home in 5 minutes. Flew home. And she comes in. And Lily will be on the podcast someday, here in the near future. So a lot of this is Lily's story. I'm going to do my best to share my story and not Lily's story. Okay. I'm at home. I get there the same time she does. She comes in. She has her friends in her car in the parking lot. And she comes in and tells me that she's almost 18. This is a couple days before her 18th birthday. That a few days before that she had woken up to her safety and privacy being violated by our ex-stepdad. Again, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of that because that is Lily's story to tell, and someday she will. And I just, had no idea that that's what was coming at all. I had no clue. Could not have guessed. I expected her to be pregnant or high. That was not on my list of things to expect from her to say. So she took her friends home, whatever, came back to my house. And I'm like, Lily, I don't know what to do. What do we do? What do we do? Can't prepare for a situation like this. And she said, call your dad. Call my dad. Not her dad, my dad. So I called my dad. Didn't answer, but that was comforting to me that Lily felt safe with my dad. He called me the next morning and goes, you called 15 times? And I said, yeah, should have answered. Anyways, really, really didn't know what to do. And at this point, I didn't know. Lily has been on her own faith journey. Her dad is not a member. We are. Lily has found God in her own way, and I'm so happy about that, honestly. That truly brings me so much peace that she has found Christ. But I wasn't sure if she would accept a blessing, but she did. Zach gave her a blessing, and I hope that helped her. It helped me. It helped me knowing that she was getting a blessing. I don't know. So we go over to my mom's house, and I pack her a bag. And I am just furious, fuming. Anyways, I guess I don't need to go into the whole lot of that story. I'll leave that to Lily. She can share it when she's ready. But our family blew up, quite literally blew up. It came to light that Lily was not the only victim, that there had been so many situations in our home where privacy and safety had been violated, absolutely violated and obliterated over the 18 years that he was in our home. Now you might think, like, why is this relevant to the podcast at all? Because this is kind of where, like, my story comes in. That's just a little bit of the foreshadowing that this man who had been our father for 18 years was not safe and was not to be trusted. Whatever. I don't know. I've been praying all day how to, like, present this in a way that is my story and not the story of other people, but also in a way that doesn't just focus on the negative, because there's a lot of it. Basically, I remember having a really, really hard time. Honestly, it was like a loyalty complex for me. Like I said before, me and him were so, so close. So at first I was fuming, just pissed, right? Like, out of protection for my sister. But then as it kind of went on, it was just this, like, this loyalty complex of, like, you were my person. You were, like, the parent that I went to for everything. And, like, I had my whole life, I guess where this really comes down to is I had built my whole life around this facade of this, Daisy, you're not mine, but you're mine. Like, you're my daughter because I choose you. And I truly felt that. I felt like this is my family. Like, it's beautifully messy. And we're building this family because we choose each other. And, like, step is a bad word. You're my father figure. And to just be like, okay, but how could you do that? How could you do that to any of us? And, like, my sisters that are in reality my stepsisters, but had grown up, they were 1 and 2 years old when they got married. And so they were 20 and 19 when this all happened. Like, we had grown up together. We had grown up as siblings. And that suddenly what? We're just, like, not siblings anymore? Suddenly we just, like, don't. And this guy, this man who has been some of us, he's been our dads, our stepdad, our whole lives. The rest of them, he's actually their dad. Like, it's just, it was so, so messy. So messy. And, like, I don't even know. It was, like, honestly 2 or 3 years of just, like, I don't remember it, like a fever dream of just, like, what the freak is going on. I don't know. I can't even, like, iron out my thoughts because it's just like a feeling. Like, I just feel sick and mad when I think about it, but I can't, like, remember any of the details because it was just like I just saw red the whole time. And mainly I was so mad because, one, as the oldest sister, I personally feel responsible for protecting my family or protecting my siblings. Like, that's my job. That is my job. That is my sole purpose. I don't know if every big sister feels like this, but that's what I felt like. It is my sole purpose to protect my siblings. And that this was happening right under my nose just made me feel like I failed at my job. So that all happened, and then I needed something. So I decided to go into life coaching, and I got, like, certified in life coaching. Then I designed journals. I designed mom mentality because I was like, I need to be the best mom I can be mentally because my life is a crap show. right now. Like nothing. The only thing I can control is how good of a mom I am right now. So I did mom mentality. Then I did marriage mentality. And I'm like, I never want my marriage to be like this. I don't want there to be secrets. I don't want things to crumble. I want to make sure that my home is so strong. I need my house to be a safe haven, one for me, but also for any of my siblings if they need it. If they need rest, if they need to find like something. I don't know. I'm the only married one at the time, whatever. Okay, so that's kind of how I got started in stuff like that. And it never got easier. It did get easier, but even several years later, this was in 2022. I did not sleep until 2024. Every night, I'd lay awake. I'd have nightmares, which the nightmares have come back. This past month, I'm having nightmares still. It's been 4 or 5 years. I'm still having nightmares. But before, I was not sleeping. I couldn't sleep. I would have to go sleep with Nellie every night because I had this overwhelmingly dark feeling and presence, and just that something was happening to her because it had happened in my family. Something was happening behind closed doors that I had no idea about. And I don't know why. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe. I felt like I have to be with Nellie to protect her. I seriously slept in Nellie's room all the time. Like just this middle of the night anxiety like just took over me. I went and did some hypnotherapy, and I've been given amazing tools that now I am able to sleep, which is great. Really grateful for that. But it was a long time. It was like 2 years straight of not sleeping. It was horrible, truly awful. Just this anxiety of never feeling safe, of feeling insecure in every way. So all of us, as you can imagine, all of us handled that differently. A lot of us kids were adults. I was the only one married, but everyone was adults. You know, my mom's her own person. There was only 2 kids left at home. We all handled this differently. And everyone got separated. Everyone got dispersed. And there's this whole underlying of, what is my family now? Are you not my siblings anymore? I know I already kind of talked about that, but I don't think people understand like the severity of that. My sister Peyton wrote a beautiful piece about it, and she said, we're strangers that shared a childhood. And that makes me so sad. Like literally so sad. Because we shared Christmases together. We shared birthday parties together. We shared movie nights together. We did family trips together. We built forts together. We played pretend together. We did chores together. And now we're just living our lives apart. And I know that siblings go and do that, but this is different because we don't even have a home base anymore. You know, like there's nothing that connects us anymore. And that's really, really hard. You know, like one of my sisters, she's had a baby. Both of my stepsisters are now married, and one of them has a baby, and like, oh my gosh, we're cousins. Or our babies are cousins, but we don't even feel like sisters anymore. And like how, like nothing makes sense. Like this is where I'm at right now, is nothing makes sense. Literally nothing. I don't understand how this was my entire childhood and now it's just gone. It doesn't make sense. Like not because people are dead, but because of choices that were made, and we're just existing differently now. And it's so weird and so hard. And like, I remember the Christmas after being so weird. Like we need all new family traditions because these ones remind us of the family we used to have, but how do we still keep the siblings together while like without my ex-stepdad? Like how do we do this? Like how do we navigate it? And it's been a lot. And honestly, I feel like right now I'm kind of having an identity crisis of like, I'm not the big sister. anymore. And that was literally the hardest thing for me. It was just, this has been my whole identity. And I understand I'm a mom now. I'm not like, I understand I'm a mom and I have a husband and I have a beautiful family. And I'm so, so, so grateful for the family and the home that I've built. But it feels weird. It feels like I'm abandoning my old family, but it's not there anymore. Like, it literally is not there. It literally does not exist anymore. No way to get it back. No way to undo the betrayals and the violation that happened in our home. It's gone. So that's where From Broken to Blessed came in. I remember telling one of my close friends at the time this story. Obviously, I went a lot more into detail in the confidence of my friend, but I was going a lot into detail, and it is messy and dirty and hurtful and so much heartache and pain and just a lot. Again, I'm trying to protect the privacy of my siblings. But I remember talking to my friend about this, and she was like, you would never know. You would never know that your life just blew up. You would never know that, like, oh, you look fine. You would never know. Oh, thank you. No, but really, like, you would never know. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So I started, like, sitting on that concept of, like, oh, I am going through the hardest time of my life. I don't feel safe. My family's gone. I don't know who to trust. This man who has claimed to be my father my whole life is a con artist. There's no better explanation. Like, I'm your daughter, okay. Then how could you do that? And it's not like it was a one-time violation. It was the whole time, all 18 years that he was my father figure. There was violations and inappropriateness and just so many things. So it just felt like my whole life was a lie. And then now I'm just kind of like having to build on it, I guess, and just go from there. But that's kind of how this whole idea from the podcast came to be. It's like, well, I'm sure I'm not the only one. I might be the only one in that exact situation, but I know I'm not the only one who's been betrayed. I'm not the only one who has hurt. I'm not the only one who has gone through something. And if someone can pull strength from my story, I know there's other people like that their story also will provide strength and motivation to other people. And I just decided to do that. And it was kind of interesting for me going back to the conference that I had a couple weeks ago, or that event, realizing that, like, this is why I started the podcast, because I don't want to give him or the situation any credit for what I've built, you know? But then as soon as I say that, like, another overwhelming feeling comes over me of like, but that's the power of the atonement. That's the purpose of Jesus Christ, is that he heals broken things. And he blesses us abundantly when we are broken. Isn't that so funny? How we go from being broken to blessed. Even in hard times, even in hardships, even in trials that we think there's no way I'm going to recover, we can build something beautiful. And I like to think that that's how this community and this podcast was built, on actively using the atonement. A lot of people think that the atonement is only for sinning, which I didn't sin in this situation. My sister didn't sin. My mom didn't sin. The victims in our life in this situation did not sin. One person did, horribly. So how does the atonement apply to me when I'm not the one sinning? I think a lot of us connect that repentance is for sin. It's not it. In the scripture that talks about repentance, says he suffered for the sicknesses, the hurt, the trials, the sins, literally everything. It's not just for when I mess up. The atonement is the bridge from us to the Father. Like, I have so many feelings and my mouth is not working like to better explain this of the atonement is for every feeling. It is for every emotion. It is for every experience so that we can be better. And not because we were bad, but because we need to grow and evolve from whatever situation we were handed. Does it suck that this was the situation my family was put in? Yup, absolutely. Am I so grateful that to some degree everyone is healing little by little? Yeah, I am. I am so grateful. I am so thankful. And that everyone has a different story out of all of these situations. Like I said, we all have different combinations of parents in this situation. One of my brothers was on a mission as this is all happening. And he didn't know. That's a whole other thing. My sister, it's just, I didn't know how to find peace in all of this. And I have found peace by creating it. Or I have found motivation. I've found motivation in other people's stories. And I needed motivation. And so now I share that motivation. That's the whole purpose of this podcast is if you're having a really hard time, chances are someone else has also struggled in that specifically. And I'm going to tell you how they got through it. This podcast is where you can find out how to get through it. Or where you can find that little glimpse of faith that, there is more for me. There is more on the other side. I can get through this. I do have a loving Heavenly Father that wants me to be better and wants to help me build on this instead of letting it destroy me. That's what this is for. So I hope that that's what it continues to be. I'm so grateful for all the support that I've had here, but that's where the podcast came from me being in my depths. That's where this podcast came from me being in my depths and just deciding that I'm going to be better. I'm not going to let this define me, and I'm not going to let this be what holds me back. So that's it. That's how we got here. And it's been a hell of a year. So I'm really excited to continue to grow with you guys and with this podcast. And I know that there's a lot more for us to do this next year. So thank you so much for being here and for supporting me. This has been From Broken to Blessed.